Hit that sub button, guys, for the latest in boxing. Beating Anthony Joshua. Beating Anthony Joshua. Beating Anthony Joshua makes you the number one heavyweight. Beating Anthony Joshua makes you the best heavyweight on the planet. Beating Anthony Joshua makes you the number one at heavyweight. I don't live in fairy tales. I don't live in a world where you could have one belt and I'm going to consider you the number one heavyweight champion of the world. I don't live in that fictional world, that sci-fi world. I live in the world where guys who put in the work, guys who test themselves, guys who unify, guys like that, I consider them the number one heavyweights. I don't want to hear nobody saying that Wilder is the number one heavyweight. I don't want to hear nobody saying that the guy who beats Wilder is the number one heavyweight. Because like I said, that's science fiction. That's a fairy tale. That's make-believe. You want me to consider you the number one heavyweight. You have to step in the ring and beat Anthony Joshua. I don't care where it happens, homie. I don't care if you fight him in the UK. I don't care if you fight him in the United States. I don't care if you fight him in Germany. I don't care if you fight him in Russia. I don't care if you fight him in Belgium. I don't care if you fight him on planet Mars. As long as you fight him and you beat him. That is the only way you're going to convince me that you are the number one heavyweight. It's not rocket science, people. It's not, it's very simple for me. And I'm making this video so you guys could understand that that's all that is required for me to consider you the number one heavyweight. Okay? The number one, the baddest man on the planet. I rate guys. As legit heavyweights. Guys like Dillian Whyte, I think he's a legit heavyweight. Guys like Jarrell Miller, I think he's a legit heavyweight. Guys like Carlos Takam, I think he's a legit heavyweight. Guys like Joseph Parker, I think he's a legit heavyweight. What I mean by legit heavyweight is he's a top heavyweight. Alexander Povetkin, I think he's a legit heavyweight. Okay? Deontay Wilder, although he's cherry-picked his ass for several years, I think he's a legit heavyweight. But I don't consider them the number one guys. You never hear me saying that Dillian Whyte is the number one heavyweight. You hear me saying he's a good heavyweight. He deserves a title opportunity, but I don't consider him the number one heavyweight because he hasn't beaten Anthony Joshua. Right? If he fights him in a rematch, he has to beat him. Okay? Luis Ortiz, this big bad boogeyman. The people say that, guys like Scott, Guilfoyle says that Joshua ducked him. Let's see what happens when they fight. Let's see if he's really better than Joshua, as he claims. Let's see. The point is, people, this is the only thing you have to do as a heavyweight for me to consider you the number one heavyweight. If this was the year 1984, if it was the year 1984, I would be saying, homie, you want me to consider you the number one heavyweight? Fight Larry Holmes. Beat Larry Holmes. You beat Larry Holmes, you the number one heavyweight. If this was the year 1988, I would be going around saying, homie, you want me to consider you the number one heavyweight? Fight Mike Tyson. Beat Mike Tyson. You beat him, you're the number one heavyweight. You understand? If this was the year 2000, I would be telling you, homie, you want me to consider you the number one heavyweight? Fight Lennox Lewis. Beat Lennox Lewis. And the list goes on and on. If it was the year 2008, I would be saying, homie, you want me to consider you the best heavyweight? Fight Vladimir Klitschko. Beat Vladimir Klitschko. See, that's all it is with me. I believe that the guy who's considered the best heavyweight is the guy who puts in the work. The guy who unifies. The guy who has all the belts. You know, back in 2010, there was 3 heavyweights. 3 heavyweight champions. You had Vladimir Klitschko. You had Vitaly Klitschko. And you had David Haye. Do you think I went around saying that David Haye was the true heavyweight champion? No. I know David Haye went around claiming he was, but I didn't say he was. I never said he was because I looked at Vladimir Klitschko as the true champion. Because he was the one who was actually fighting legit heavyweights. Or at least the best heavyweights that he could have fought at that time. I know they weren't the best quality, but those were the best guys around at the time. And meanwhile, you had David Haye, who was fighting guys that were completely shot to bits. Absolutely shot. Guys he shouldn't have been fighting. Going around claiming that he was the real heavyweight. But Klitschko was the one who was actually fighting the legit dudes. You see what I'm saying? This is what you have to do as a heavyweight for me to consider you the number one heavyweight. Fight Joshua and beat him. End the story. Subscribe and do not forget to hit that like button, guys. Bye-bye.